Hello, first viewer. Welcome to our third Facebook Live. I'm just going to give her a head start. And I always like to open with feeding her because they're hungry and it's awfully cute. Lizzie, come here. So it doesn't take her very long to finish her milk. This is one of our bottle calves. This is our heifer bottle calf, and then we also have a bull bottle calf. Her name is Kiss, and then the bull's calf name is Hershey. And she's just about done with her milk, and I know anyone who's tuned in before will know a little bit about them, but for anyone who's new, they are a Black Angus. They're both a Black Angus cross calves, and they are both bottle calves, so that's why we're feeding them instead of their mothers. So Kiss's mother was a first-time heifer, so she didn't quite understand how to take care of her calf very well. This often happens with first-time mums, and so she was left for us to feed her. And then our second bottle calf, who is just behind me, his mother is injured, so he wasn't able to nurse from her. So we have both of them, and she's finished her milk right now. But as you can see, she's still quite pushy and wants a little bit more, but that's all for her for now. The other bottle calf is just over there walking around the yard, and he's not as anxious to be fed as she is, but we'll see if he's hungry. If not, she will get the rest of the milk, also shared with some of the cats. So these are our two bottle calves. The one with the yellow tag is the female, and the one with the blue tag is the bull calf. And now he seems pretty hungry because he knows that he missed out on feeding time. So she's going to be really pushy, and she's going to suck on my hand because it's the same color as the nipple of the bottle. And as long as that distracts her, that'll let him nurse. As she's gnawing on my hand, cattle only have a bottom set of teeth. And just like humans, they are born with their baby set. And as they get older, they'll lose their baby teeth and their adult teeth will grow. But they will only ever have a bottom set of teeth. Okay. They're quite rambunctious. They really love being outside. We have them inside our shop just because they are a little bit different and get slightly different treatment than the other calves in terms of being out with the other animals. But they do love running around in the sun and getting their food. This is also our Great Pyrenees, our livestock guardian dog, Lizzie. Come here, Liz. Lizzie, come here. And she's out here making sure that her perimeter is kept safe. She's not allowing any coyotes or deer or any unauthorized animals around. She's really good with the calves, as you can see. They don't mind her, even though they're just about as big. And she stays outside all the time. She has a really thick coat of hair. She even has hair in between her toes on her paws, so she can be out when it's -30 and won't feel a thing. So I'm going to move this calf. We're going to go into a little pen so that Hershey can nurse without Kiss being in the way. We'll let one of them in the pen and lock the other one out. How about that? There we go. Now we can nurse, okay? And I'm sorry if it's a little bit shaky. I have two calves that are bunting me all over, so that should be better. There we go. So we feed these calves roughly 3 to 4 times a day. They get milk replacer, so it essentially has the same protein and nutrients that real milk from a cow does. It's not quite perfect, but it does just fine, and it gives them all the nutrients that they need. It comes as a powder, just kind of like some people's protein powder, and it pretty much smells the exact same. We mix it with water, warm water, and they drink it from a bottle that pretty much replicates what it would be for them naturally as far as nursing on a cow's udder. So the nipple on the bottle is a very similar size to a cow's teat. Cows have 4 teats, so they're able to feed their calf from either 4 quarters that their udder is divided into. And depending on the cow, they can vary in the amount of milk they produce. We raise beef cattle, so our cows won't be producing the amount of milk that dairy cows would be, but some of them do have a little bit of milking genetics in their history, so they'll have a bit more milk than some of the others. And as a general rule, adult females or more mature females will have more milk than first-time mothers. So as Hershey's enjoying his last bit of milk, he's not quite as pushy as Kiss is. And once we're done, we'll let them both out. As we're feeding them, we want to make sure that we're not letting them get to the end of the bottle and suck up any air, because that gets into their stomach and does a little bit of damage. So as we're nursing, as soon as we start hearing him sucking air, we want to make sure that we take the bottle away from him and he's done. So they latch on to the nipple. They'll press their tongue right up against the nipple, and they'll completely create a really tight suction around that. So that's how they're able to nurse, and nurse very quickly. Oops. And he's just about done. I do find that like some humans and some other species of animals, the females are a little bit sharper and a little bit smarter than some of the males. And this definitely goes for this pair. He's the older of the two, but she's a little bit more sharp and catches on slightly quicker than he does. You can hear in the background there's quite a bit of noise. There's noise from one of our rangers. So my 2 brothers are out and about. They're tagging some calves right now. And then they're also my flock of geese, some Toulouse geese, and some ducks. So they're the ones who are making all that noise, plus a few roosters. We have a mixed farm, so that means that we raise more than one species. We have cattle, sheep, chickens, ducks, geese. We have a horse. And then in addition to the livestock, we also grow various types of cereal grains from barley, wheat, and oats. And then we also have some alfalfa, which is used for hay. So we cut the hay in the summer, and we usually cut it twice. So we have lots of feed for our animals. So he's all done, and he's not going to be too happy about it. But as you can see, he's bunting me. And what that means is, naturally, he would bunt the udder of the cow or his mother to get more milk to flow through her udder. So that's what he's trying to do here, but I'm not built the same way as a cow, and he gets it through a bottle. So bunting doesn't work very well. But he is done. And she's over in here. And we'll let them out. This is our one of our poultry barns. So in here we have the geese and ducks and the roosters. We keep the roosters separate from the hens because I have quite a few roosters, and so many roosters with so many hens won't create a happy environment. Everyone will fight and get a little bit rambunctious, so they all stay separate, and I'll put the roosters in during the summer once I decide what kind of breeds I want to put together, and then we'll hatch out some chicks. And then the ducks and geese, because they all live a little bit differently than the roosters, they quite enjoy being outside, being in the snow, as well as splashing in the cold water, even though it's quite frigid outside sometimes. The geese and ducks will be outside even when it's minus 15, where the chickens don't really like being outside too much. So we're going to move over and take a look at one quick thing before we go take a look at the calves, but we might have to skip that step because these two are following me, and what I was going to show everybody are some of the eggs that the ducks and geese and chickens lay, but with these two around, they're going to make it a little bit difficult for me to bring out the eggs. So we might have to go take a look at the calves and then come back to that. We'll lose them on the way maybe. So the calves see us as a source of food. They imprint on us a little bit, recognizing that we provide that milk for them and shelter and some attention like scratches and things like that. But other than those couple of things, they're cattle and they know they're cattle, but they are quite comfortable around us. But they're still happy to do their own thing and mosey around the yard. This is part of our main laneway. So over here, on my right hand side, we have one of our manure spreaders. So having lots of cattle means that they produce a lot of manure. So that has to be removed from all the pens periodically. And we use this machine to put the manure in after it's been piled into mounds, and then it spreads it across the field. And the reason we spread it onto our fields is to put those nutrients that the cattle have eaten and passed through their body. That goes back into the soil and it creates really rich, fertile ground for things to grow. So it's one big life cycle going from the plant to the cow to the manure and spread back on the field. So one big system working together. And then behind that is one of our combines. It's a little bit older than maybe some of the combines people are used to seeing, but it still works the same in terms of how the machine operates and combines the grain. And we're going to walk down the middle of our alleyway. So on the left-hand side, we have 4 pens. They're all the same size, and in them are different animals at different times. In here we have a couple of different cows that are just staying separate from the rest. They just need a little bit of extra treatment and staying away from the others. Oh, I'm guessing I do have to turn my phone because it's not letting people watch very well. So we're going to switch it, and I apologize. There we go. Thanks for letting me know, Leslie. So we're going to go into our calving barn. So in here we have calf tagging happen. So this is one of my brothers, so he's going to put a tag into one of the calves. And the reason we tag is to make sure we can identify all the cows and calves as a pair. Lizzie. And then in addition to tagging, because this is a bull calf, they will also be castrated. We castrate the male calves that aren't purebred, and once they've been castrated, they'll be steers. Castration is a way of making sure we don't have too many bull calves running around, because we want a certain type of bull calf to be left, and then once the removal of the testosterone happens, they grow much faster and they grow more muscle and lean meat than a bull does, which just produces more muscle. And it's better for the animal because they'll be less aggressive in general. This is the calving barn, so once a cow has had her calf, they'll both go inside this barn and they'll stay a couple of hours depending on the turnover or the amount of calves that are born. So this is this cow's calf. They were just tagged. This cow is a Simmental, purebred Simmental, and she had her calf yesterday. So that's her calf. And it is a bull calf, and he's quite large. He's 130 pounds. She was able to have him all by herself, but in general, 130-pound calves are a little bit out of the ordinary and are generally really difficult for the cow to have by herself. Usually a calf of that size requires some assistance in order for the calf to be born. But she did all right. She's quite a big cow herself. And this calf has a really nice blaze face on it. It's a purebred Simmental. And he's going to be next. He's going to be next in terms of getting tagged and getting his vaccines. Well, so the cow is going to go out. And we're going to follow her out, and we're going to take a look at some of the other calves that are in the pen. This is our main calving pen. This is where all the cows and calves go once they've all been tagged and vaccinated and castrated if need be. So everyone gets paired up in here. We put down fresh straw every other day or so, depending on the weather and if the straw is getting a little bit more soiled. Inside our calf sheds, there are a number of calves sitting in them at this time of day. The sun is shining into them really nicely, so the calves lie down in here, soak up the sun, and pop back out whenever they are hungry, and they'll go look for mom. So this is one of the heifer calves. Heifer calves have the yellow tags, and the bull calves have the blue tags. So she was just born a few days ago, so not too afraid of me still. As they get older and as they develop a more cautious sense, they won't let us get as close, but for the time being, the calves that are still quite young don't mind us being around them too much. So this calf shed is empty, but we'll go find some more. So this calf has 2 tags, and the 2 tags, the blue one is for the bull calf, so identifying that it's a bull calf, and then the green tag is to identify that it is a purebred Black Angus. So we have 2 breeds of calves in here that are going to be purebred. One are going to be the Black Angus, like this calf, and then the others are going to be Simmental. We have various breeds of cattle on our farm: Black Angus, Simmental, Hereford, Maine Anjou, Shorthorn, and some Speckled Parks. Most of our cattle are crossbred, but we do have a few purebred, so that means they are the same breed all the way through. Crossbred are a mix of different breeds. So as I'm going through the pen of cows, I'm always just going to be really cautious of the mothers, because even though we know them really well, they get a little bit more protective once they have their calves. So some you need to give a little bit more distance, and some don't mind as much that we're going to be around their calves. But always watch when we're in here. But as long as we stay in the calf sheds, the calves stay safe and we stay safe. This is another heifer calf. We had 9 calves born yesterday, and out of the 9, only 1 was a bull calf, so we had 8 that were females. We'll go into this pen, or in this calf shed. So we have some more calves. So depending on what the mother looks like and depending what the bull looks like, we're going to get some calves that have a few more markings on their face. Most of the calves are black or various shades of dark brown. This calf has some nice little white markings right by its hooves, down at the bottom of its legs. So that most likely is the Simmental influence in this calf. As we're looking at the tags, you'll notice the top number, once we get her to turn her head, the top number is the number of her mother. And so this calf will carry the number of her mother. So the mother was 800W and the calf is 800H. H is this year's letter, so within cattle identification, a letter can be added to the numerals, so you can identify the age of the animal. And then on the left side of the tag, it says LFE, and then 3137. So that's the number of one of the bulls that this calf's mother was exposed to. And then on the other side, it says W2W something. So that was the second bull that calf's mother was exposed to. So some of our cows were in pasture with 2 bulls. So with this calf, it could be, either bull could be the sire. But guessing from those little white marks on the calf, I'm going to guess that this calf's sire is the Simmental bull, because Simmentals do have yellow or have white on their body, whether it's on their legs or on parts of their face, whereas Black Angus, purebred Black Angus cattle are all black. We have a couple different calves in here that are different colors from the rest, and here's one of them. This little calf is a cute buckskin color, and its mother has some Charolais genetics in it, and Charolais are a white buckskin color breed, so that calf is carrying on that trait. So it's the only one of its color out here so far. And then we have a few others that are really nice coloring. We're going to see how close the mums are going to let me, and if they don't seem to mind too much, we'll get closer. And if they're showing signs that they're not really comfortable with me getting this close, we're going to back away a little bit. So this calf at the top of the screen, the cow right above it is not its mother. The cow is just standing there for the time being. But this nice red and white calf is a Speckle Park cross. So Speckle Park is a breed that was developed in Alberta and Saskatchewan. So it's one of the only beef cattle breeds that has been developed in the western provinces as well as Canada. So that calf right there, the lovely little red and white heifer. This is her mother. So this is what a typical Speckle Park looks like. She'll be black with white spotting around her body, and then sort of a mixture of the two on her face. This cow does have horns, but her calf is polled. So polled means that the calf doesn't have any horns. So the calves are really out enjoying the sunshine today and not really minding where they sit. We have the straw out for them, but as you can tell, some just sit next to the snow pile. And as it gets darker or closer to the evening, we make sure that all the calves are on the straw pile or in the calf sheds to make sure that they're not out and exposed to the colder areas of the pen. So we have a bunch of cows that have calved so far. We calve out a total of 200 head. So by the end of our calving season, we should have around 200 calves. We haven't had any twins yet. We do occasionally have a couple of cows that on occasion will give us twins, but none so far yet. Periodically through the day, we'll walk through all the calves. We'll make sure that everyone's doing fine. We don't have any calves that are coughing or sneezing or just showing signs that they're not feeling well. In the case that we do, we will spot that calf as soon as we can, and then we'll move it to a pen where it's not near any of the other calves, since we don't want any of them catching anything or having anything being transmitted from one calf to another. A lot of these cattle out here, a lot of these cows are first-time mothers. So any of the mothers with the F at the bottom of their tag, this is their first time having a calf, and they're doing really well. All of our first-time heifers have great mothering instincts, so that means that they're really protective of their calf. They're really worried about their calf, and they're letting their calf nurse right away. They're licking it off as soon as it's born and being a great mother. So that's what you want in a cow. You want great mothers. So here we have the calf that we saw in the barn a little bit earlier. This is the Pepsi cow, and this is her Simmental bull calf. So this little guy weighs 130 pounds, so he's quite stocky. We generally don't want calves that are 130 pounds. They make for a really tough pregnancy and a really tough birth at times. So we try and limit the chances of that happening. One way of reducing bigger calves is getting bulls that have a smaller birth weight themselves. So bulls with a birth weight of around 70 to 85 pounds is what we strive for. And the father of this calf had a nice small birth weight, but sometimes you'll just get a really big calf, and that'll happen. So in terms of that, this calf, because he is purebred, he would be used for breeding himself when he got older. But because he does have that big birth weight himself, we're probably not going to use him as a sire down the road, because you don't want calves that are that big right from the get-go. So he's still a bit wobbly on his legs. It takes them a couple days to fully find the use of their feet and get to know the whole brand new world around them. But once a calf is born, it usually takes them 15 to 20 minutes to stand up, especially if it was a fairly easy delivery and birth. But he's doing really well and still figuring everything out. He's got a really nice blaze face on him. He's a really fancy looking calf. And Mum is calling him, but he's not quite at the age where he can keep up with her. And we have another little red calf over here. So calves all over the place. All the cows have been really good this afternoon, letting me go up and get very close to their babies. Now that we've kind of lost our bottle calves, we can go take a look at the different eggs that our poultry lay. And we'll stop for a quick. So this is what it looks like for a calf nursing on a cow rather than the bottle. The calf's just going to look at me for a bit and then continue on. So the cow's udder is divided into 4 quarters, and she'll have 1 teat for each quarter. And the calf's not very interested in nursing now that I've shown up, but she might get back at it. Once the calves have figured out standing after they've been born, nursing will be the second thing that they'll go on to. And the first couple nurses that they'll get from the cow produces colostrum, so that's incredibly important for the calf to get after it's just been born. Colostrum is full of really good antibodies and bacteria that just help give the calf a head start in terms of its development and overall health. After the calf has that colostrum, it's gone for the rest of its nursing lifetime. The cow only produces it once per calf, and the rest of the time it'll be milk. There are some instances where a cow won't produce colostrum right off the bat. Sometimes she might have had the calf too early, the right hormones didn't kick in, or just for some reason she didn't end up with colostrum. So we do have extra colostrum that you can buy in a bag, just like regular milk powder, and we'll mix that up for any of the calves that might need a little bit extra, if we're afraid that they didn't get any, or if the cow didn't have any right at the beginning. There's another nice little Simmental calf with that really fancy blaze on its face. And it's a bull calf with the blue tag. The 2 bottle calves are over there, so we can go safely look at the eggs. This is the main part of our yard. We have a couple of storage buildings. Back right in front of us are our granaries, so they have peas, wheat, flax, and barley in them. This is our shop. It's heated. And then we recently put an addition on there, so that's where we store our machines during the winter, so they're able to start very easily for us when it's as cold as it has been. These are calf sleds. We have 2 different styles. The one is upside down for the display purposes that I'm going to show you in just a minute. But this calf sled has this split in it right here. And so this is where you'll put the calves' legs. So as they're in the calf sled, they like to thrash and move around, especially if you're getting a calf that's not quite newborn, but it's still quite little, but has got a little bit of energy under its belly. So the leg goes in there to kind of hold it down and keep it in place. And you'll drag it with either a quad, a ranger, or even just yourself and pull the calf back into the barn. This calf sled does the exact same thing. It's a little bit higher in terms of the sides, but it doesn't have that slit in the front, so the calves are able to hop out occasionally. These are some of the roosters. They're outside and they are able to go around the yard. I don't let them in with the hens just yet until later in the year when it gets a bit warmer, and then I'll pair up the different breeds together, because just like cattle, there are various different breeds of chickens as well. So we're going to look at some of the eggs. So this is what my collection of eggs looks like from this morning. Most of them are chicken eggs, but there are some bigger ones. So this is a goose egg. And this is a duck egg. And then these three are chicken eggs. So this goose egg is laid by my Toulouse geese. It's a French breed, and they're your medium to large size of geese breed. All geese lay these white or cream eggs, and they're quite large. A goose egg is about 3 to 4 chicken eggs in size. And then down the line we have one of the duck eggs. This is from one of my Rouen ducks. So they lay this very smooth, very almost oily outside layer of an egg. And it's a little bit more smooth than the goose egg. The goose egg is a little bit more porous. Duck eggs are often laid close to or on the water. Not necessarily domestic ducks, but wild ducks. They would be laid near the water. So they have an outer coating that protects them from becoming waterlogged or getting any pollutants to seep into the egg. And then down here we have our 3 chicken eggs. So this is your typical brown egg that you would see. There's another pink one, just for comparison. So this one would be considered a pink egg. It's a lot lighter in color. And then we have a dark brown one. And then we have 2 more unusual colored eggs. This one is considered an olive or a green egg. And then this middle one would be a blue egg. And actually this one is a little bit more blue than the other one. And so the reason that they're blue and greenish, the chickens that lay these colored eggs are either olive eggers or Americanas. There are also another breed called Oricanas, Americanas, and Oricanas are a South American breed. That's where they originated. And after those breeds became domesticated, between crossing different chickens together and different breeds together, something happened within those chickens and they developed what's called a retrovirus. And for some strange reason, and their researchers aren't still quite sure why this happens, but they developed green and blue eggs. And the color of the egg is determined by the chicken's earlobe. So if you pick up a chicken and you look closely at their earlobe, which is often hard to see, the color of that earlobe will indicate what color of egg your chicken is going to lay. So these green and blue eggs are really fun, and they make for a really interesting and exciting dozen of eggs. A lot of people have questions about I'll see if I can move and get them in a shadow. A lot of people ask if the colored eggs are going to be different on the inside, if they taste any different. And the honest answer is these eggs won't taste any different. So from this really light pink one to this dark one to this olive color to this blue to this lighter blue, crack any of them open, put them in a bowl, make cookies or a cake, and you'll never know what color shell the eggshell was. Now, as you're getting to the duck egg and the goose egg, those two are going to taste a little bit different. They are different breeds. They're built a different way. They're going to taste slightly different from the chicken eggs. Duck eggs and goose eggs, I find, are more richer. They have a larger yolk to white ratio. And they also eat a lot of different things. They eat a lot of underwater and aquatic plants. They eat a lot more grass and forage than chickens do. Chickens eat a lot of bugs and grain. Geese and ducks are what are known as grazers, just like cattle. That's why you see a lot of geese on golf courses. So the contents of what their diet is made up is very different from what chickens are. So their eggs are going to taste a little bit different. But we use the duck eggs for baking, and they're really fantastic in cakes. They make really rich and moist desserts. And then the goose eggs we do use for baking, but I really like them for decorating, so they're perfect for Easter. And I have a lot of customers who request the goose eggs because goose eggs have a really porous shell on the outside, so it holds the dye or whatever decorating technique you're going to apply to it. It holds that really well, so they're very easy to color. And then with some of these other eggs, I also have one customer who takes the dark green, the olive color, and then the dark brown, and she etches them. So she does pisanka, which is a Ukrainian style of egg decorating, but she etches the eggs instead of dyeing them with the wax. So I'll post some of those pictures because they're really fantastic and so intricate in the way that the color of the egg is etched out. So some of it'll be lighter and some of it will reveal the actual color of the egg. So those are all for the eggs. I'll put them back. We gather eggs 2 times a day, once in the morning and then once at night. And then we take them back and do regular egg deliveries in town or pick up from the farm. This is what the inside of our hen house looks like. The hens are able to go outside at the back of the building. There's a really bright light, so that's where they're able to go to the back side of their pen. Chickens, I find, really don't like the cold weather and they don't like the snow. So even though it's fairly nice out today, I think it's only -1 or so, they're not a fan of going out and being in the cold and the snow. So they'd rather stay inside where it's warm, where it's comfy. So we have a couple of hens in here sitting on eggs. So some of them really hunker down and try to make themselves not seen. And then this hen, and I'm glad she's in here, she has on what's called a chicken saddle. And the chicken saddle is used to protect the hen's feathers. So as the rooster is breeding them, they can be quite aggressive and they can pull out the hen's feathers. So the chicken saddles just prevent the hens from getting a little bit beat up and pecked. We have, as it can be quite loud in here. And we also have the turkey. I'm just going to open the door and answer one of the questions so it's not quite so loud. So we have one question, and Jackie asks, how often do you have to change the straw on the floor for the hen house? So the straw that we have in here, I clean it out usually 3 times over the winter, and then in the summer maybe once, because it's a very thin layer of straw since the hens are outside most of the time. We like to have an accumulation of straw build up in the hen house. It gives them something to pick through during the winter because just like people, it's a little bit more of a difficult time to find something to do. And then it keeps the chicken house warm. So we'll let it build up. We put fresh straw every day. But once the weather gets nice, I'll clean it out and give them some fresh straw. And then the last cleaning out will probably be in April or May some point, and then I won't clean it out until October or when it starts to get really cold. The hens also get supplemental lighting because during the winter our daylight hours are reduced and hens need 12 hours of daylight to produce an egg. If they don't have those 12 hours, they're going to produce eggs far more infrequently. So in order to keep them laying at a steady and consistent rate, we give them a little bit of extra light so that stimulates sunshine and gets them to lay eggs a bit more often than they naturally would. So as you can see, this hen right here, she has on a chicken saddle. So that's to protect her feathers. And because the roosters are outside, the hens can only go through their back door, even though she's trying to come through the front. This is one of the roosters. This is a Moran. So it is a French breed, and the hens of this breed will lay very dark brown eggs. So one of those brown eggs that we were looking at, this is the male of that breed. That's about it for today. I hope everyone enjoyed it, and if you have any other questions, please let me know. I'm going to go find the bottle calves, and we're going to sign off. Hopefully I can find them, but they might be somewhere around the yard. As you can hear, the geese are really making a ruckus. It's their breeding season right now, so the males are getting very aggressive in finding the females that they want to mate with, and the females are also quite aggressive themselves, so it can be really loud in our barnyard. Not seeing calves anywhere, but instead of them, we'll go up to the horse and the ram because we didn't touch on them at all today. We have a small flock of sheep. They're all the way at the other side of the yard. But we'll take a look at the ram. And actually the horse is doing something, and I'm glad I caught her doing this. So this is my mare. She's a quarter horse, and she's lying down, which typically for horses is really unusual. But as you can see, our ram is also lying down. So these two are pen mates. They stay together for most of the year when he's not in with the ewes, breeding them. And while horses usually will lie down only when they're sleeping or only when they feel really safe. So as you can see, she's feeling really safe and secure that she's lying down, and she's also replicating the behavior of the ram. Because if this pen was filled with horses, we'd never see her laying down, but because she's in here with this guy, she wants to try and fit in, and all the rest of the animals on this farm lie down very often, and she's the only one who doesn't because of the way horses are genetically built. So she's going to get up, and as you can see, it takes a lot more effort for a horse to get up than a sheep or a bovine, so any of the cows or bulls. So she's sorrel in color, so she's a little bit reddish orange, and she's 9 years old. And she's a little bit over conditioned right now. She hasn't had many rides so far this winter because it has been quite icy, and we want to keep any accidents at bay. So she stays in here for most of the winter, so we can have easy access and go for a ride if we want to. The ram doesn't come with us, even though he probably would like to. So they'll stay together. And then the ram is a purebred Suffolk ram. We have a flock of 6 ewes that are over in a different pen, so they'll be lambing in the beginning of May. So hopefully we can have some more live videos then so everyone can see the lambs, because that's really exciting. And even as cute as the calves are, lambs are another level of cuteness. So thanks everybody for watching, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and stay safe everybody.